Already losing my laptop.
You messing things up already. It's an episode 150. Hooray!
Go Rye! Go Rye! Yay!
And we'll be picking that out of the ceiling for weeks.
At least it's big confetti, not little confetti.
That's true. This is actually quite magical.
The best part is I've never. Well, yeah, I was
And
gonna
now we
say
have
something.
a really festive set for an hour. Thanks, Ryan.
That's awesome.
This episode brought to you by Hardcore Henry and
None got in your
Squarespace.
cup.
That's because I covered
Thank
it.
you for sponsoring our episode 150.
It got everywhere.
We got a little bit in the drinks.
My
It's okay.
laptop.
See, I asked.
Confetti's good.
Yeah, it was on my mic. I asked Rye to do it because when you
Rye?
shoot
Do
it,
we all get to
You
call
know,
you
we
Ryan?
have pet names. It's
I
cool.
know.
it showers on me
What's
better.
up, meh?
Meh.
It showers on you
I've
better?
called you Rye for how many months now that people are gonna call it?
Sometimes Rye as
Rye,
well.
Rye.
That's true.
Yeah.
Today we're joined by
Meg.
Ashley.
Bernie.
and Ryan. Welcome back, Bernie.
Well, thank you very
Been a
much.
while.
It's been a while since I've been
we
here.
were trying to figure out how long it's been since Bernie went on the patch. I wanted him on for 150 because we have so many great. Do you remember? Hey, look at this.
I'm gonna guess last
Okay.
time was something I said something that was out of touch or I just didn't get it. That's basically the way
Yes,
that
you
happened.
put
Honestly,
that out there.
the last time you were on, you probably talked about how digital distribution is the way of the future.
That was like 2 years ago. I think that was the first patch ever that we did that when I brought up. We played Brothers, I think. Remember that?
Oh God, I remember Brothers.
It's a good downloadable game. I think it was one of our candidates for Game of the Year that year.
We,
Anyway, hello everybody. Glad to be
Hi.
back.
Yeah, we had that for Game Club. That's like a feels and a half game, man.
It
is.
starts
Let's all
off with a
take
sad
a
spot.
shot.
What? Nice.
go.
Okay.
I got one piece of confetti. You know, I was in a play one time, and it was in a competition where we went, and then it was UIL thing where you do it in Texas, you do it for an
yeah.
hour, and then somebody else comes and does a one-act play for an hour. And the one before us was Wizard of Oz. And
Tito's.
to simulate the woman who was playing the Wicked Witch of the West getting hit with water, spoiler if you haven't seen the movie.
Spoiler
They
for
had
1940.
silver glitter. They had silver glitter in a bucket, and then they splashed. They just went boof, and they splashed it at her, and she
They went what?
Boof, and then they splashed it at her.
Boof.
And
That's where the Mighty Boosh
she
comes
got one of these like metal pieces of glitter, like one of these little flakes. She inhaled it, and so she's like going, but she's like hacking at the top of her lungs, and then she's like backstage.
They're like, oh, she's killing it.
Yeah, it was like then you could hear her hacking all the way through the end of the performance, somewhere in the
It
auditorium.
took her a long time to melt.
When
Yeah.
I was in high school, glitter stories. When I was in high school, the drum majors of a band always salute the audience before the marching band plays. So they have like everybody has like a different little decorative salute they do. We once played against another high school where their salute was before they saluted, they had their hands balled up the whole time, and then they went like this, and it was like silver glitter that shot out of their hands, and it was like the most magical thing I'd ever seen. It left such an impression on me.
I was afraid for a minute you were going to say that like a dove flew out of their hand and
Yeah,
then
like,
one person
crush
just had a
this tiny
dead dove that just flopped
It
onto
was
the
just
ground.
a magical story. There
Where
was
were they
no
keeping the
sound.
glitter the entire performance?
Well, it's not. You do it before the performance starts. So their whole salute, they had both their hands fisted, and then they like just did this at the end, and then before they saluted. It was awesome.
And the
It was really
groundskeeper
cool.
was like, "You asshole."
Yeah, well, it was on the. I'm sure the football players who then had to be
Glitter
on the,
is forever.
Yes.
It lasts forever. Especially, I assume it was like little glitter, not the
Yeah.
big
Oh
thick
no,
stuff
it
like
was
this.
definitely a little glitter.
Wow, this is
It's
the.
the-
Are
herpes of
you
the
trying to
crust.
sneak a shot into me? Is that what that is?
No, I poured you Coke.
Is it virgin?
Yes.
Never.
Just like you.
Are we taking shots?
Exactly what I was gonna say.
Am I
but
about
was
to get
trying for
roofied?
it.
Are you taking shots?
Can you tell we rated the off-topic set for all this stuff?
Yeah,
I'm gonna drink
get
it
all the
out of the
alcohol.
All right.
Happy 150,
Happy
everybody.
Happy
150,
150 to everybody.
Here's to the spirit of Gus.
May you rest in peace.
That really
right,
tickles
right
going
before the episode started.
Oh, that was awful.
I was
Yeah.
asking them. They handed us the shot glasses, and I asked them. I said, "Are the glasses clean?" And the response was, "Yes."
down. They will be when
Well,
you
here's the
introduce a
problem.
little
Is that
alcohol.
they could be technically clean, but they've also been in the vicinity of achievement hunters. And
What
I'm,
are you trying to say?
I think she said it.
You're all dirty bitches.
yeah,
I just
I don't
gained.
think
I'll
I
have you
danced
know,
around it, Ryan.
Michael is actually probably one of the cleaner people. I mean,
That's true.
aside from being next
I've been
to
in the
Gavin,
man's
it's kind
home.
of a
He's a
counteracting.
very
Yeah.
cleanly person.
He actually hand washes all the glasses from Off Topic immediately after the show.
Oh, look, we've
He
seen
takes
his.
them over there.
What
And
a
does
team
it.
player.
We've seen his washer dryer.
He doesn't
we know
trust
he
anyone
has
else to
them.
do it.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I just gained
Know
so
this?
much respect for myself in college. Like, how did I do that so much? Because I just kind of want to take a nap. Since I just had that shot, I'm just kind of.
Give it a few minutes. We've got a nice new table for you to dance on.
To vomit on?
You know,
Oh,
we
yeah.
used to have a different table.
We used to talk about video games
have
on this
a
podcast,
different,
too.
a different
that
coffee table. I don't know
sometimes.
if you know this.
Sweet IKEA table, everyone.
What happened to our old table?
I don't know. I heard Blaine
What-
broke it.
What?
I heard
Yeah.
something.
Weird, I heard Chris broke it.
I heard Chris broke it.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the NBA player that ratted out his teammate?
Can we talk about this? Can we please talk about this? Because
Let's
I
talk about it.
genuinely
I
was
have
just
no idea what you're talking
okay.
about.
We're
So
gonna get to
let's
the
first of all,
don't.
so
Yeah.
NBA
All right,
2K16 is a video game that plays basketball.
Yes.
Also in basketball.
Also in basketball, there's a guy who plays for the Lakers who
Segue.
is engaged to Iggy Azalea. Is that her name? Her
Yeah,
last
you
name?
got it. You got it.
And
Okay.
they're engaged. Yes. He has a teammate, a playmate, a teammate
Hey.
who Snapchatted a conversation with this man who is engaged
in a hotel room.
in a hotel room.
D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young.
Yes, Nick Young is the man who was recorded. D'Angelo is the man who did the recording.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
the
already
dirty
lost.
rat.
Just go with it.
He's okay. I want to talk about this.
Go ahead.
Basically, he recorded him admitting to have cheated on his fiance.
Okay.
And saying lots of things that made him a dirt McGirt person.
Okay.
A dirt McGirt.
Yes. And now, apparently, there's reports coming out that he's been iced out of the Lakers locker room. None of the Lakers players want anything to do with him
Out of the
because
locker
he
room?
broke the man code for basically he Snapchatted it,
Or
sent it to a
he
girl.
caused
The
a
girl
major rift in a 5-man sporting organization where now they're like everyone, the whole team kind of sucks now because these two guys are like so pissed at each other.
Worth
Well,
millions of dollars.
Yes,
Yeah.
but so the thing is, like, he sent this video to a girl. The girl supposedly leaked it. He didn't post it publicly,
Oh,
but
is that what
she
it is?
did. Yeah, it was a Snapchat. So
It got out there
It
publicly.
got out there publicly
Okay.
somehow. He's getting blamed for breaking man code. Why are we not talking about Dirt McGirt McGee who can't keep it in his pants?
It is
that
true.
should be the focus.
There is a huge meme surrounding now D'Angelo Russell who did this and not around Nick Young
Right.
who cheated on his
Is
fiance.
it the when people see D'Angelo Young on his phone, they look like this? Have you seen that? It's like the Kanye
Nope.
thing where Kanye's talking to somebody, he's laughing, he sees the camera and he like frowns.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, this is what people will look like when they see him on his phone from now on because they think he's recording it. But it's, again, Dirt McGirt McGee, this dude who maybe should have maybe not ratted out his teammate. But Dirt McGirt McGee over here is really what should be.
well, his fiance dumped him.
Yeah, she wrote, did you see her tweet?
Yes.
Her tweet was, I really like D'Angelo's video. Thanks. Thanks for the heads up, bro.
All right, so we got way out
Yes.
track with that.
But
No, I was
NBA
just wondering if it's gonna
2K16
be
is
in-
indeed a game.
I'm wondering
Speaking
if,
of man code.
do you think they'll do any of this in NBA 2K17?
Can you record your teammates and like?
Let's go back to the locker room. Hey, who you been sleeping with?
Yeah,
And Is
exactly.
it someone you're married to and or engaged to?
So speaking
Snapchat.
of violating man code, Blizzard removed
Good tie-in.
they removed a pose from a character this week.
Tracer.
I
Meg's
actually don't know much
favorite
about
character.
My
Overwatch.
favorite character in the game.
It's because she shows her nice tush.
No,
Okay.
but because she's like spunky and cute, and even from the very first, she was in the very first things we saw from
The very
BlizzCon
first Tracer.
of
Meg said, I'm
Overwatch.
going to cosplay her.
Yes, love her. Incredible. She's British. She's fast. She says cavalry's I love it. She turned around. She has 4 victory poses. One of them is her turned around and showing her. She does like
She's
a.
looking
It's like
over
a
her left shoulder.
peace sign from behind. So you see like a little cheeky cheekerson. Someone.
Can we get the picture up?
Stab-
by chance?
Stab,
If we
I'm
can
gonna
find
send it to
because
you.
I'm really
Yeah, if we
curious.
don't have it.
Like
It's not overly. It's not okay. Can I
Yeah.
do? Can I
Do it.
Just do it.
It's not
You're-
like she's
look-
like I won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like she's standing from behind, and it's like she has like her butt cheeks are there.
But
her
also,
costume is on display.
Her costume,
It's
her
not-
costume's
She's
halfway
not
up her
bent
ass.
over like, hey guys, we did it.
Yeah, and
like,
she is in no way.
Come on.
From just looking at it as a standard male,
as
I like
a
to think.
father, what
Not-
did you think?
Well, this
a
whole
beautiful
issue
young
started.
lady.
This whole issue started with a different father, but no, yeah. Looking at it, I just see
The Holy
what?
Father? I don't
No,
know where you're
this
going
is-
with that.
Yes, the Holy Father has spoken, and he saith, "Took us no good."
Oh yes.
I think you're talking about the father who said that his daughter is
Yes.
Tracer's his favorite character.
Right.
She gets up every morning, wants to watch a video with Tracer in it, and it's important to her to have a role model that's not overly sexualized.
Correct.
Well, right.
Paraphrase,
Okay.
all right,
paraphrase.
But I don't look at this
Stab,
picture.
I just slacked it to you.
I don't look at this picture and immediately see sexual. Like
No,
I
I don't
see
either.
someone that happens to be facing away from me, and someone's like, "Hey, Tracer," and she looks over her shoulder.
I think
And they
it's
take a
fun.
picture.
It's a fun victory pose. There's so many costumes I've cosplayed where you get like a cool shot from the back. It's like, why can't you show off the back of your freaking costume?
Well, and there were a couple of things about the situation that were weird. So it was removed largely because someone posted on the beta forums that they felt it sexualized this character needlessly. That the character wouldn't otherwise be sexualized. It
That they
wasn't
were
that kind of
uncomfortable with
character,
it.
etc. They were uncomfortable with
Yeah.
it. And Blizzard said, yeah, we kind of think you're right. We've been like reconsidering it anyway, so we're going to remove it. So that's sort of how it all went down. However, there's also a bunch of other characters that have the same pose, male and female characters. So Hanzo and McCree, 2 male characters, both have that pose. I mean, granted, they're not wearing tights, but they're also not wearing tights from the front. Well, it's not like they went out and like put her in tights just to do a butt shot. Girl wears tights.
And the poster did mention, to the poster's credit, to OP's credit, that they felt the pose was fine for other characters because there's an assassin in the game.
Widowmaker.
Yeah, there's an assassin in the game, Widowmaker, who it has skin tight, like a bodysuit, like a cat suit. And they were like, that's great because she's very sexy and sensual. But for Tracer, it doesn't make any sense because it over-sexualizes her. But I don't think having an ass inherently makes it sexual. Like, just because you have butt cheeks, they're not sexual butt cheeks. And also, one of the things the poster said was, she's so spunky, she's so fun. She's not sexual, but can't you be spunky and fun and have a great ass as part of your victory
I get
pose?
down.
Like,
She's been through puberty.
Yeah.
Look,
She's a grown
also
ass
wearing
woman.
a
Spunky,
bomber
fun girls can
jacket.
only be viewed from the front. Everyone knows that.
everybody
Get over
knows.
it.
But it's like she's also wearing a bomber jacket. Like, she's covered completely from the front. It's like, in her having ass cheeks, suddenly they must be sexualized. And I think it's really,
So here's
dumb.
here on screen is the 4 victory poses we have. The one at the far left is the one that they're removing.
Yeah. She's not sticking her ass out. She's not like doing anything that's like, check out my butt cheeks. It's just a really cool pose from the back. Like, in all 3 of the other poses, we only see the front of her costume. As a cosplayer, I enjoy the fact to be able to see the back.
Like, it's cool
Now,
to see the whole thing.
I will say
Yeah.
that if you look at this pantheon of images, it is the one that doesn't fit.
So show
we go
them to
back
me
to it?
again.
Let's go back.
If those are the 4, like
The sitting one seems the most out of
See,
place.
I
the
agree.
sitting one
I
almost
think-
seems too childish. Like,
I
she's
mean-
supposed to be kind of a fun.
She's sitting in Indian
like,
style like she's waiting for show and
BFF
tell.
character,
It's crisscross
but-
applesauce.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think
But
the one on the far
agree.
left, it's by far the most serious looking of the bunch.
I disagree. I
Maybe
think
it's because I can't see the smile as much. But
I think the left 3 look like they belong together, and the sitting one looks a little too
I
weird.
agree.
I
mean,
can
it's
see
like-
how the person in number 3 would do number 4.
I mean, but you get where they
What a
do the
weird
over-sexualized thing because
conversation.
like her pants are halfway up her ass in that. So I can get where people come
They're
from on that.
also,
They're
by the
halfway
way,
up her ass all
upper
the
ass
time.
in
No,
the
I agree.
game.
I totally agree. And I haven't seen the male characters. This I have like almost no knowledge of Overwatch at all. But Blizzard was saying like we made this decision in response to the backlash for them removing the pose. They said we made this decision. Basically, it's our game, and if we don't want this in there, we know some people will disagree with this, but we're taking it out.
Well, so they said originally, the director came in and said, you know what, we're going to remove it, because they saw the post, I'm uncomfortable. He came in and said, yeah, we're going to remove it. Then people got mad that they were going to remove it, so he came back and said, well, it was already an internal discussion. This kind of tipped us over the edge, but, you know, it is our game. We get to do what we want.
Exactly.
I say,
Which is true.
And I tweeted this, if you can find my sweet snarky tweet, that if I ever cosplay Tracer, now I'm only ass first when I travel as Tracer now.
should-
Just do all
ass-
backs.
Yeah, you
We
should have a
talked about-
cosplay where the front is an ass too.
We talked about actually making me just one giant Tracer ass, like a big face thing here, and I just cosplay Tracer's ass.
You're just gonna peek out from the anus.
That's my BlizzCon costume, guys, now. Tracer's
Hey.
ass, 2016.
I think that really the issue that seems to be at the core of this is not that the pose itself is bad. It's that they felt like the pose didn't match the character.
Right, they said that, but that's where
But
I
they made
disagree.
the
That's-
pose and they made the character.
Yep, they make her whatever they want, A, and B, why can't you be spunky and have a great ass?
Well, in the case of this one father, and I guess people who felt like him, that was, well, he looked at that image and saw something sexual. I don't know that his daughter would have or not. Maybe, I mean, I assume if his daughter's young enough that she's still getting that, then at this point her mores are probably still more inspired by his than her own actual innate sense. But he looked at that picture, he saw something sexual, and it felt out of place in relation to a character that he thought was more child safe in a game about shooting people in the face.
Right. I just
See, that's the other
there's the
thing.
exact
So
same
there's
pose.
this is another character. This is I want to say I
that
think
is
it's
slightly
Hanzo.
different.
So he's doing like the same
Well,
pose.
same-
it's
the
same like a
same
back pose
ass.
over the shoulder.
shot.
It's like same thing. And you know what? I will say in some of the teasers, that man smolders.
That's all right.
Yeah, he does.
But
Clearly, male
unrealistic
characters
body
have
type
the sense to
like
cover
I
their
don't,
derriere.
but I also like I don't get sexual from an over the shoulder glance. I get like sure maybe it's a little bit more serious. Maybe she's being like, But
yeah,
Why do you
because
suppose?
you've got your ass kicked.
Why do you suppose though that we look at something like if you go back to Hanzo or you look at like Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War? Why don't we ever look at those representations? These are unrealistic body types for guys.
Well,
you know?
well, that's a whole other barrel of worms, which
Absolutely.
is fantastic. Is remember this was several months ago, like this is maybe a year and a half ago at this point. There was that it was like a bulimia website photoshopped a whole bunch of female video game characters and added like 20, 30 pounds and said this is what these characters would look like if they were real women.
If you can find those control room, they're really they're everywhere.
Actually, I sent them an image. I don't know if you guys got it back there. There was a similar controversy that took place in the comics world with a Spider-Woman cover.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Should we be sending these to you?
Physically impossible to get into the pose in which Spider-Woman was in. Because it was
However-
like her head was pasted onto her back.
However-
It was the same image, though. It's same issue, though, because Spider-Man had the exact same cover.
Right.
And pose.
Yes. So I remember the controversy well, and actually the best thing was that cosplayers then tried to contort their bodies to be in that image, which was great.
Yeah.
But it's that we look at women and we think, if you are smart, if I perceive you to be smart or spunky or something that's disarming and not sexual inherently, you cannot be sexual at all, or you're being objectified, and that's not the way the world should be.
Well, there's another problem, too, I think, and we've run into this before, where at Rooster Teeth we produce a lot of comedy. And the basis for comedy is in dark content or flawed content. And people get offended by dark stuff. But when you talk about characters that are funny, they have flaws. Like if you look at Laser Team, that, you know, my character's a loser. Colton's character's drunk. Gavin's character is not that smart. Michael's character's, just angry and a
asshole.
dickhead. It's like, and that's what makes that
So,
character funny
Michael.
is when you explore those flaws. Or you look at like something like Will Ferrell, who's obtuse as Anchorman. It's like you have to explore those things to be funny. There's nothing funny about a guy who has a great job and a really nice house. You know what I mean? It's like that's just not a funny thing. You have to explore the kind of negative aspects of life. So what happens as a problem when we try to write comedy for women is we try to do things that show the women as flawed and that's funny, and people have a very visceral negative reaction to that, where it's like, no, she can't do that. She's got to be, you can't do that. That's mean to do that to women. But it's like, then we can't just make her funny.
Like women can't be flawed. One of my favorite things about the TV show 30 Rock is like Tina Fey is flawed as shit. She's talking about like wearing swimsuits as underwear because she never does laundry. She's a slob. She messes up everything. She can't keep a relationship. She's hopeless at all this stuff, and it's funny.
Do you think that gets more of a pass because Tina Fey is one of the lead writers on that show?
I absolutely do. I think that like men aren't allowed, for whatever reason, to write flawed female characters. Like how dare you present women in that way? Tina Fey can do it, and Amy Poehler can do it, and like women who are like write their own characters. It's like they get a pass, but men aren't allowed to portray women as flawed in any way, or it's patronizing. It's the system, and so on and so forth.
I think people are the thing is people are trying to show how progressive they are by being like, look at these strong, independent female characters that are without flaws. But if we were really that independent and that forward thinking, they would be just as flawed and ridiculous. And actually, Bernie,
We'll go
you
back
brought
and
up,
forth until we find the
Yeah.
equilibrium. Yeah.
You brought up something on the podcast this week.
That's
Spider-Man.
on the right was the very controversial Spider-Woman cover.
Yes.
And then there's one, I think it's Todd McFarlane on the one on the left.
Yeah, so it's like it was really that whole cover, which I mean, to be fair, that looks uncomfortable as shit, but it is an homage to the original, which is just as impossible. Mm-hmm. I mean that dude, like that Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure his legs are bent back behind his ass.
Plus,
no,
let's
that's
be
true.
honest, that's a ridiculous amount of webbing that he used to make that huge ball.
Bernie, you
Also,
brought-
everyone knows that men physique that's exactly accurate, whereas that's unrealistic for women. Like all
Right.
guys, when we take our clothes off, that's how we look.
Right, like if like men don't have more than 3% body fat. It's just not done.
No, this is we all wear fat suits all the time just to make everybody
just to make
feel
everybody
better.
feel a little bit
I've
better.
wore spandex. It doesn't cling like that either. So
You brought up something on the podcast though that really, really bothered me about Batman versus Superman.
where it potentially could, I know what you're going to say, but it potentially could be a spoiler here, just so you know, for the next
Yes.
like,
Let's tread
small
carefully.
spoiler, very small spoiler.
Very small
Spoiler.
spoiler is that I felt like Wonder Woman, everybody else is getting their ass kicked at one sequence in the film. Wonder Woman, absolutely flawless. And I felt like I literally leaned over to Gavin and was like, I think they're not like letting her get hurt because
Right.
they're worried that women will be mad that she's getting hurt. And I was mad that she wasn't getting hurt.
When I watched
Yep.
it, I thought the same thing before we went into it. I was like, I wonder what they're gonna do about this. 'Cause, like, it's like you hit Wonder Woman, you hit a fucking girl. You don't hit Wonder Woman? Oh, great. Now we just have fucking boring ass female characters.
Which is
I think-
ironic in a Superman movie because that's always the criticism against Superman is that he's super boring because he
I
can't
felt
be
the
beaten.
same way about Wonder Woman.
I think
loved
ultimately her
but-
invulnerability in that
Yeah.
situation makes later events even stupider.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll say, loved the outfit.
Yeah, love Gal Gadot. She can do no wrong. She started in Fast and Furious. Gotta love her forever. Let's talk about more about video games.
Well, before we do that,
yeah.
this episode of The Patch is brought to you by Hardcore Henry. Hardcore Henry is a first-person action movie told from the point of view of Henry, where you become the character. You experience and feel everything through his eyes. It's truly groundbreaking. It's a visceral ride and a sensory experience where you learn about this world, his extremely dangerous situation, and the truth behind who Henry is as he discovers it. You're resurrected by your wife with no memory of who you are, and 5 minutes later you're being shot at, and your wife is kidnapped by a powerful warlord with a plan to bioengineer soldiers. That's the best sentence I may have ever read. This movie is batshit insane and must be experienced in the theater. The action scenes are next level amazing with mind-blowing practical stunts that defy logic as to how they were accomplished without several fatalities. It's in theaters April 8th.
Yeah.
So go check it out. Thanks for supporting the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so just really quick, wanted to show what we talked about earlier. Little illustration of the photoshopped women. The like where they added pounds and said this is what they look like realistically.
Oh yeah.
Here
we
we've
have
talked
a
about
professional
these.
fighter.
She's a capoeira fighter from Virtua Fighter. But what bothers me most
Well,
about this...
this is Tekken, right?
oh, is this the Tekken
Yeah,
girl?
this is Tekken 5.
You're right. Sorry. She is a capoeira fighter, though. I do remember that from the story. Not a big Tekken fan. They made her heavier, but her titties are the same size. And that offends me.
Looks like they're smaller actually.
I'm offended
I think they're
by...
just a little bit more even
Because
leveled
that's
with the rest of her.
we were talking about Ashley, like...
Just shading.
Both
I
of them.
guess.
We
Yeah,
talk about
same.
our like weight loss and working out and weight gain
Like,
and all that
trying to
stuff.
get fit, like trying to
Yeah.
get all like toned up, trying to like
sometimes when
get
you're
rid of my
up, you're
my
like-
lunch lady arms.
Well, wait a
Guess
minute.
what? My titties are bigger, and I feel better about it.
They went a little too far with that, though, right? I mean, we have good example of what women fighters
Oh,
look like in
you didn't-
UFC, like
Right.
Ronda Rousey.
Well, yes. I mean, one thing that we didn't cover well enough in the story, because our own story did sort of take off on its own and cause its own controversy. One thing we did not say in the story that we should have said is that there are women who have bigger body types, who are strong and fit. However,
and
to
also
put 40 pounds on Riku and say that's what she should look like if she were normal makes no
Right.
sense.
also let's just say Pam from Archer, fucking badass. She's like
She is badass.
She's like a bigger lady she's like bitching. She's hanging out with like all of the racer dudes from Japan, like with the motorcycles, and she can like lift people and throw them over her head. And she's like, let's get down. I don't give a fuck.
She also did go through a skinny crack phase.
She
I mean,
did.
literally, she was on crack.
No,
Like, that was-
I remember that. She was, when she was a coke addict on account of wearing the cast made out of coke. Anyway, that was a fun storyline. That was-
So we also, by the way, we all saw Hardcore Henry, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
I have
we
not
all saw
seen it.
Hardcore.
Oh, you
Henry.
haven't
It's a
seen
very video game-esque
Yes.
movie, and if you saw Doom, they had a first-person sequence in that.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
I
though?
would
They
not
also
have
in
mentioned
Hitman have
Doom
had
if you wanted people to see the
sort of-
movie.
No, I know that. I know that. There was a lot of people. Doom was not great. Although I went back years later and I realized that the character in it is Carl Urban.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know that.
That was back. Carl Urban will do any sci-fi movie.
Yeah, Dwayne, and so Bruce Willis too. Also, Denzel Washington, oddly, is a big sci-fi guy.
Yep.
But anyway, Hardcore Henry I thought was great. It actually, from a story perspective and an aesthetic, aside from the first-person part, it really reminded me of aesthetically of Shadow Complex, that Xbox Live arcade
I
game.
remember Shadow Complex.
And
Talked about it
it's
a
so
lot
funny
here.
because right after seeing the movie, I did not know this. Xbox in their what's the backwards compatibility program?
Yeah, they brought
have?
Shadow Complex.
They brought Shadow Complex back, but there's also a Shadow Complex remastered version.
Yep.
HD.
And I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
So
we
that's for the
rented and
Xbox
raved
One.
about how awesome it was 2 patches ago.
If you
Yeah,
haven't played
patches
Shadow
I still haven't
Complex,
played it yet.
Yeah.
it's a really great
Oh,
game.
I will say-
absolutely worth it.
And feeding into like Hardcore Henry being a video game,
Yeah.
you could tell who plays video games and who doesn't. We were walking out of the theater. We saw it at South by Southwest, and there was like a girl who was walking out. She's like, I feel like there was so many questions. I was like, why did they do this? Like, they didn't even answer that question. But for everybody else who plays video games, they're like, fuck yeah. I was like, screw that bit of the story. Let's just keep going. Like,
Yeah.
next objective.
Needs
and you're
no
like,
explanation.
Yeah, who gives a shit? It was fun. It's exactly what it was like.
Yeah, but Brittany, you mentioned wanting to go see it with the controller.
Yeah, except for the Alamo, that you just hand everybody a controller to watch
And
the movie, so you sit there like that.
hold it.
Also, if you're motion sick, take Bonine. I'm one of those people who's
Did that
motion
help?
sick
Yeah.
What is it
all the
called?
time. Bonine is
Bonine.
like an or like Dramamine. They're the same
Dramamine,
thing.
yeah.
Bonine
I've never
doesn't
had to
make you
take that
sleepy.
stuff, but
I always do. Like if this like moved slightly, I'd vomit until I took Bonine.
You said it was
Guys,
the
hey guys.
forward
Not a
backwards
water
stuff,
person
See if we
right?
can get it rocking.
Yeah. No,
You
no,
can
no.
get the whole set
Really?
going.
Do you get
The
that?
only time I scuba dove.
do you get that from video games?
Sometimes I get it's yes, sometimes I do. But
Yeah,
very very rarely.
I saw Meg look so green after doing some VR.
yes.
Oh, you would have
really?
hated something we did today. We just, as a teacher for something coming out on Achievement Hunter channel, we shot a bunch of VR stuff today. But at one point we did something in a game called Felt Tip Circus, where you're doing a
What?
felt tip
just the
circus.
felt
Just the felt tip.
It's a series of circus acts, and there's a high wire act. And if you step too far to one side, you fall off the high wire.
Oh, that's awful.
So all of a sudden, the whole world just goes, woo!
Yeah, we
nightmare.
did
Ugh.
for free play. We did what was that game called? Affected.
Yes.
Affected.
Was it Affected?
Affected?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Huh?
Yes.
Affected. And
Which
it's
is
a scary
a
game.
jump scare,
and at
yeah.
the beginning, I was so frightened. But then I got so sick, I didn't even care about the game anymore. Every sequence, because there's 3 different sequences, ends with like a big scare. And by the end, I was so sick that I was like, please just scare me already so I can be done with VR.
Yeah.
It's awful.
So that was, again, one of your first few real VR experiences.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, when I played with the Oculus, I think I played with it at E3 like 3 years ago. I got sick. And then with this one, I've also gotten sick. So just anytime I play with Oculus, it's always been. But HoloLens didn't make me ill at all because it's so AR as opposed to VR. But
I think
yeah.
AR is going to be the one that actually
Yep,
takes
I do
off.
too. I think
really
AR is
do.
where it's at.
Well, I feel like VR has a lot of applications within gaming, and I feel like AR has a lot of applications for real world stuff.
like lifestyle.
Actually-
Yeah, like once they get AR goggles down to something like just a pair of glasses or an overlay on your glasses or something like that, which will take a while, but it will get there. I mean, look at mobile phones from the 80s versus what they are now, and like what they did then versus what they do now. And eventually we'll get somewhere where it's much more elegant. It's not a huge headset. And then augmented reality will be amazing for real world stuff. But if you want to go into another world, VR is going to be where it's at.
Yeah, I think that one of the VR's though, it's got to catch on. Like something about it is like it's come around like 3 or 4 different times. I
Yep.
feel like, and graphics fidelities went much higher now, so you can get more immersed in the experience. But something's got to grab hold that makes people want to use it on a regular basis, and I think AR will be that step.
I agree. I
I
think-
shudder to think about something that will have as much an effect on our life as smartphones, where people are looking down at their phones all the time. Like, will there be the equivalent of that with like visors? And I think there will be.
Yeah.
I actually
think-
thought of the traffic light today. I wish I had a different horn for get off your phone and let's go. You know, like a slight just like boop, like a different kind of horn in my car. For
Oh,
that.
like a less mean horn?
Maybe it
want
just yells,
an
"Hang
extra
up!"
mean horn.
It just seems like in the last like 2 years now, at almost every traffic light, people don't go when it's green because they're not looking at it. They're just
Yeah.
doing anything else in their car now.
They're actually using that downtime to do something because they now have the option to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
That
y'all
didn't
can't
exist.
be bored.
It's true. You can't have
Exactly.
2 seconds
They need
of
to be
idle
entertained at all
solitude.
times.
As Louis C.K. says, you can't let the darkness creep in. You can't be alone with your thoughts.
Well, it's funny because I think, off the top of my head, I think VR is bigger for gaming. But when I think about it more, I think about the types of genres that are going to flourish in VR, which are like horror gaming to me, and obviously VR
Social,
porn.
actually.
But I think those all sound better on AR. Like AR horror. Could you imagine being in your actual
Nope.
house and then a girl coming through a door that's actually in your house?
I
Way
can think of
scarier.
it, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Way scarier. AR porn, if it's like my actual bed, but there's like some dude drilling me in AR, like that's more immersive than
To be
VR.
fair, yeah, you're right, and your actual body too.
Yeah.
With VR video as it is now, you're still looking at whoever the camera's mounted on.
Right.
I wonder if they'll do an AR version of something like Pokemon Go.
What do you
No.
mean?
I mean, sorry, to take it to a way less like perverted.
But
sense
AR,
where-
but I mean,
Because-
technically we already have an AR Pokemon Go because
right,
Pokemon
but
Go is
I
that.
mean like a
you mean, like, in
goggles
your
version
goggles.
because it's going to be kind of a smartphone version where you go around out in the world and that's where they are and that's going to be a cool thing. But like if you just look around and like there's a goddamn Pokemon,
it sounds
like
like
that'd be sweet.
It sounds like something that could happen with Google Glass right now. You know
Except
what I mean?
no one bought it.
I know no one
I'm
has.
slacking you guys another thing I'd like to take a look at if you get a chance.
I do want to
I'd like to
mention.
submit this as Exhibit B.
Wanna play that
for
video.
the
I do want to
Pleases the
mention
Court.
though.
It's
so
a hybrid of what we're talking about.
actually really relevant right
porn?
now. No, it's not.
Not yet.
It's just the porn.
Hey.
It's not even anything to do
It
with what we're
will be.
talking about. It's just some porn I saw.
Well, the scary thing about like virtual reality porn is that if you kind of combine it with AR, you could just have like hire a sex worker, but then have any experience. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, but it's like a robot then I think is really like there's so many, you know, like Tales from the Crypt type stories where it's like you just get a robot, but
Well,
it's basically
he means
like,
literally overlay somebody's face on top.
Literally.
of
That's what I
human.
mean. I'm
Yeah.
saying that, but I'm
Like-
saying you could do the same thing for a robot.
True.
If you have like a blow up doll, but a better version of that, you could overlay anybody's
Oh, I'm sure that
face.
technology exists in Japan.
I think, Bernie, we both know what people do with other people's faces that we're not going to tell the story, but we've all seen selected faces.
Well,
People do creepy things
Photoshop's a
with
wonderful
faces.
tool that
Yes,
everyone
it is.
has access to now.
Yes, it is.
But I was going to show you, I don't know if you guys have it up there, but I was going to show you guys a really cool thing, which is a hybrid of AR and VR. It's this company called The Void, and what they do is they build these constructions, and then they make the VR match them in real life. And you'll get an impression of it here in a second, where they build these little sets that are just blank sets, but then when you go in it with a virtual reality headset, they overlay over the top of it. So like the doors and the control panels and everything else are exactly like what you're seeing in the world.
Yeah, they've got a place
So
like
you
that
have
in
a physical
Australia.
component to the VR, like you can feel it around you.
They've got a place like that in Australia. I believe it's called No Latency, which is
And look
the
at
same
this.
kind of like.
Here's a great
shooter.
example: the control panel.
Oh my god, I love it so much. It's like it seems like a
That I would do in a heartbeat.
in a heartbeat.
That sounds amazing.
They have mist and they have smells and everything else.
That's amazing. That's
Ooh,
like
smell-o-vision.
a
We've been
laser
waiting for that.
taggy sort of experience, or like a
Yeah.
haunted, like a guided haunted house, sort of like that kind of experience.
They have actually. They sell these as like a turnkey experience.
Hello,
too.
desktop of patch person who's on. There you go.
Everybody
Go to the board.
Everybody looked at your tabs.
So this is actually dovetails very interesting because this week Oculus officially launched.
Yeah.
And has been called by many to be a disastrous launch.
Really? I didn't
Tell
even
us
know. I didn't
more.
know this
Tell
was
me-
the launch.
tell me more.
I missed that part.
It's the official launch week because they have started shipping final production units to Kickstarter users and supposedly some people that pre-ordered. But the reason it's being called
Wow,
a
they're
disaster.
still fulfilling Kickstarter stuff?
Well, the Kickstarter's got
Impressive.
the first bunch, yeah.
I thought you said they got dev kits.
No, they're actually getting a full retail version.
Cool. In addition to dev kits?
Well,
Or did they have
if
to
you
wait
bought
for
the
the
dev
dev
I
kit,
don't think
then
they
you-
got the dev kit.
I don't
Like,
th-
They just had to wait
Yeah, I
for
think
it
they
the
just
whole
made
time?
it.
Wow. Okay.
But so the reason it's being called a disaster is because no one can buy one. Like they've launched it this week. They've officially said that it is launched, but you can't purchase one. It's
Hey, they're
been
going for that
backordered
sweet
so
Wii U.
far. Yeah, they're 3 months back on fulfilling just their Kickstarter and pre-orders, and people that have pre-ordered are getting zero information back on when they might expect their unit. In fact, yeah, we pre-ordered a couple of them here, and I have no idea when we're getting it. So it sounds like they've also had their dates slipped, where a lot of people who were originally told they were going to get them in March are now looking more like April. So it's a lack of communication back from Oculus on when people might expect to actually get their units, and a lack of ability to purchase them if you wanted one. You can't go to Best Buy and get an Oculus today. You can't go to Amazon.
Sounds like a hardware launch to me, honestly.
Exactly.
It kind of sounds like it's not like at all being called a disastrous launch or like any press. Ryan's just mad he doesn't know when he's getting his. So
And
he's
damn
like
it,
saying
where's my Oculus?
He's like, some people say it's
Some
a
people in
disaster.
Austin
I
have
don't
said.
know who.
I'm going to say
have
some
emailed
real
him
bad things. No,
and-
it's been compared a lot to the. Oh, God!
What happened? That was a
That
really
is a
huge...
disastrous
Some people
launch.
have called that a disastrous. Yeah.
That was, it
huge
wasn't
reaction.
launched a
But
little
I
bit.
tried to catch it.
It
and
did
I
launch.
Right off the edge.
failed.
Where's my hammer?
No, it's been compared in a lot of ways
Now
to the
it's
Apple
very,
Watch
very
launch
confetti.
because, again, no one could buy it. Like they launched
out.
it and you just couldn't get it.
The most famous one I can think like that was the Wii. You
Yeah,
couldn't buy a
Wii,
Wii
absolutely.
for like
Yep.
a year.
Well, and
I
same
mean, a
for
lady
Wii U.
died trying to
Wii
get
U
a
also
Wii.
had a similar problem.
yeah, people died trying to get the one
That's
lady died
true.
drinking water.
Wii for a Wii.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was crazy. Hold your Wii for a Wii. The well, I mean, I think scarcity will honestly kind of help it a little bit. You know, if people want to get this thing and they can't. I mean, what happens? Let's say I got my Oculus today. What am I doing with that? You know, it's like, is
Well,
there
you can
enough
try
to
and
do
play
out there?
Adrift.
You can play
play
Affected.
Adrift. It is out now, right?
It is out, but it's also they have a non-VR version
Uh-huh.
and they have a VR version. I'm like, do I wait or do I just play the damn game?
Like, I'm hoping Valve will
should-
be
I
backing
should
up the release
Go
of the
download it and
Vive.
play it on Vive.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Valve will back up the release of the Vive with lots of titles and software.
Well, there's
well-
already a pretty good chunk of titles out there. I mean, that's
kids
sort
are-
of what we did today was run through a bunch of the demo content.
Well,
Dying to
Valve-
play Subnautica.
Really?
They're dying to, yeah.
Valve, I think technically Oculus Rift has a larger launch library, launch window library, but Valve also said they're going to make every Steam game compatible with VR. They're going to create like a sort of like a theater mode within
Yeah, that
within
actually they
it, so that you can at least
just
like
added
play
that.
the games, and it's more just like a private screen experience than
They
anything.
they
Which
just added that to Steam
is-
VR.
yeah, which is like but sure, look, now you can play anything in VR.
You don't have to leave VR. Well, that's probably a lot of why they're doing it, is because now you can just stay in VR for your entire Steam experience and
So
transition
cool.
from virtual reality to a theater mode 2D traditional type game.
Adrift just looks totally sweet.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
It hasn't reviewed amazingly, but there aren't a lot of reviews out yet, so we'll see.
Oh, that was the other thing that a lot of people are mad with. The launch of Oculus at Home, or Oculus Home, I think. There's been a lot of concern over whether you could have third-party applications run on the Rift hardware. Apparently, there's a setting that's a little buried where you have to allow unknown sources, which is how you get things that are not through the Oculus store to run on the Oculus hardware. There's like a DRM layer,
really
essentially, that blocks it.
That's not cool.
Well, you can turn it off.
Locked hardware sucks. If it's a checkbox, yes.
It is a checkbox.
But if this is going to be a product that's widely available to lots of people.
That's
I
what the
say that, but my
concern is.
phone is like that. My iPhone is
And we
a
still deal
completely
with it.
walled garden.
They announced that essentially you have to request a key from Oculus. Developers would have to request a key from Oculus. And I'm not sure if it's a paid key or not. I should look that up. But
You know what I hate about stuff like walled gardens and things like that? I hate when really shitty strategies work. And they do on a very regular basis.
Well,
they
and you're
work
part of that
just
problem,
fine.
right? By
Like
owning that
everyone-
walled
That's
garden.
true.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm definitely part of the problem. I mean, and I don't jailbreak my phone or anything else.
I remember years ago. Do you remember BlackBerry? Not Blackberries. What's the little thing that flips out? Sidekicks.
Sidekick.
So I had a Sidekick for years.
So did I.
I was so excited. I put like pink bumpers on it. It was just height of my Fragdoll days, and I was all like, "It's pink and cute," and
That sidekick was over-sexualized.
loved
Yeah,
my Sidekick.
absolutely. Bumps. all over.
But from my Sidekick, I switched to like a Windows 5.1 something or other because I was so upset that Sidekick wanted me to pay for every ringtone and pay for backgrounds and all this stuff. You couldn't get anything that wasn't through their marketplace. And I was so furious about that. I was like, I'm never coming back. Now I have an iPhone. What the
You're
fuck
like,
is
I
wrong
switched
with
to a
me?
Windows phone. I'll show
Remember for
them.
ringtones on the
But
sidekick,
it was
you had to pay like $3.
old school, like Windows Mobile was like you could. That was a wild
you
west.
just
You could
decided to
install
punish
anything
yourself,
you
is
wanted
what
on
it sounds
it.
like.
Can I tell you something? That
What?
when I first met Ashley, when she lived in Australia, thought super hot, awesome girl, but she had a Windows phone. It was massive. I was like, what's wrong with her?
I
was
see
amazed.
the damage here.
I was wondering. I was like, why does she have a Windows phone? Then I found out she worked for Xbox for a while, so
Speaking of
she had to
walled-
drink the Kool-Aid.
Speaking of walled gardens, I was talking to Ashley about this today. Actually, had a problem with my Apple Watch.
What's your problem with your
Where,
Apple Watch?
Gavin, this was Gavin's watch. Then I bought him a watch for his birthday that he really wanted, so he gave me his hand-me-down,
Okay.
which was actually I just want it when it comes out, so I'll use this till I get my birthday present because that's how things work in our household. So I got the hand-me-down. He reset his watch, like de-paired his watch.
Yes.
And it de-paired my watch. Even though I'm a completely different watch and I'm not remotely paired to him in any way, shape, or form.
I don't understand how that pairing stuff works.
Yep.
Yeah.
I came back and I was like, why is it asking me what language I wanted? And Gavin was like, uh-oh. I de-paired my watch. Is that what happened to yours? And I was like, you son of a bitch.
That's awful. Yeah. So did you lose all your data?
No, thankfully, because it backs up every day to your app.
Yes, it does do that.
So I was able to restore from a backup.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad everything worked out.
If yours syncs.
Mine's good. They put out an update that fixed all my problems. I talked about it
good.
on the podcast
Yeah.
the other day. So still not gaming on my watch at all. Does anybody do that? Is there a game?
Are
You
there
game
games
on your watch?
Sure. Why
No.
couldn't you?
The
Why couldn't I
only
play
thing-
threes on my watch or something?
The only thing I gamify on my
So-
watch is fitness.
Threes is a great game.
I
Yeah,
get all
fitness.
the achievements.
Yeah, it's a gamification of
Yeah.
fitness. I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Except I get really shitty if like there's one achievement that I'm going for that say hit your goal every day this calendar month, and then I miss one day. I'm like, well, fuck it, let's go get a beer, and then I'm out the rest of the month.
That's all it took to put you off.
It's a double-edged sword, man. It can keep you in, but you fall off. You may fall off hard. Just saying.
Yeah, I just posted, and I talked about it a little bit on the RT podcast, but I just finished Far Cry Primal.
Yeah.
I played
Oh,
it for
yeah.
like 35 days, and it's the game I only ever played it while walking on the treadmill. 100%. I never played it any other point in time. And by the time that I was done, I walked 138 miles playing that game.
I'm going to look up
my
now.
I burned the equivalent of 8 large pizzas, full pizzas. It
Oh
was
my
100 calories.
17,000 calories, 17,500
Oh,
calories.
wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty serious. I'd like to eat 8 large pizzas and only be
Yeah.
1,700 calories.
Well, you break even now. You have a negative 8 large pizzas or whatever.
Dude, I'm ready. I can go
get
do it
to
right
work.
now. I can eat 7, and I'm eating
still
moderately.
ahead.
Yeah.
If you only eat 5 large pizzas, you're like, oh man, it's
I'm not
like
gonna eat
nothing.
6 when I'm an asshole.
I'm looking right now for. Go ahead and read your ad
Well, I was
because I'm
going to
looking
just
up.
mention it's so
Oh.
a lot of what's heading the discontent with what Oculus has done is
Ryan's
actually Tim
discontent.
Sweeney it's Tim Sweeney at Epic Games.
He's not at. Wait, what?
But his Twitter is
Tim
Sweeney Epic.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking John Carmack. My bad.
Which he tweeted, very disappointing at Oculus is treating games from sources like Steam and Epic Games as second-class citizens. This is referring to the fact that you have to allow unknown sources if you don't have that developer code, essentially. So he's been actually very saying a lot on this subject.
But
and
how
very
classic
openly against Oculus right now.
Is it Facebook acquired Oculus? How classic of a Facebook play is it to put something in as a feature that you want that is going to negatively impact users, but you make it an opt-out feature and not an opt-in feature?
That's true.
That is classic Facebook. I mean,
That is
they will
absolutely
update
true.
something and it's like, oh, we decided we were going to share all of your private information publicly. If you don't want that, go ahead and uncheck this box. And it's
And
like,
it's
that's
silly
our
that
solution
you
for
wouldn't
it.
want that. But
Yeah, because that's what everybody wants.
Right.
You know, to have a publicly visible wall and everything else. So it's like, you know, that's the kind of thing when Facebook buys Oculus, there's a lot of upsides. Facebook will, you know, take it and if Facebook has the amount of money to make VR work and to make it like a real thing that we all enjoy every day and that's part of our lives. But there's also going to be some things that come with that as well.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. So just uncheck the box.
all right, I am going to read the ad now.
Go ahead.
That's a classic Gus segue.
Yeah.
Here is an
now is
ad.
time for the ad. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of The Patch. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code PATCH at checkout and get 10% off. There's a square.
That's a diamond.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever had to build a website for your family members, if you are not
bless you.
particularly technically inclined and you know mom decided to start a business selling knitted hats, Squarespace may be the place for you. That can actually help quite a bit. And even if you have a little bit of experience with website design and you know don't feel like writing out all those HTML tags all by yourself, you know, it gets really old after your 700th web page to be open, close, HTML, open, close, body, open, close. Screw it. Just let somebody else do it. With Squarespace, you can build sites that look professionally designed regardless of skill level, no coding required. They offer intuitive and easy-to-use tools to help you along the way, and you get a free domain name if you sign up for a year. Start your free trial site today at squarespace.com, and when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code PATCH to get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, build it beautiful.
You don't even have to be able to talk.
That's right. You don't need a working. You don't need a working brain, tongue, or mouth. Working.
We're in the middle of the working week right now.
It's the end of my working day.
You know,
It's that shot of I'm gonna be honest. I gave you some Coke Zero
You
instead of
hopped
Diet
me up
Coke.
on Coke Zero. I don't know what to do with myself.
a lot of Farmville jokes on Twitter right now for hashtag the patch.
A lot of Farmville jokes.
About Facebook remaking of Farmville and VR. Yeah.
Oh, I can talk about some Stardew Valley. Do you want to talk about Stardew Valley?
Wait,
No,
before
no
you
one
do that, I
wants to
just
talk about
wanted
Stardew
to
Valley.
Before we fall down that
tack
particular
on.
black hole.
Yes, I wanted to tack, which by the way has spread to my house. We'll
Yes,
talk about it.
plays
Gavin
it?
playing
Gavin.
it. Yes.
Just give up now.
He's
Cut
gone.
ties.
He's
Yeah,
let
really.
it go. Just board his
Cut your losses.
office up.
That's
while
my
he's in it.
recommendation. He's lost anyway.
How many miles did you walk in Far Cry?
138 miles.
That's awesome because I was just looking up. Oh, I wonder how many miles I've run with Zombies Run 5K since I started that in January, and I've run 52.
Nice.
So that's great that
My
you
longest
just playing the game.
And it's like it's people like, well, I don't know how this. I don't know how you find time to do that. It's like I'm not finding time. I'm just the time that I'm playing video games.
Right.
It's the same amount of time. I'm just walking, and I'm walking. My average now is like 3.3. That's my standard. It used to I had to start at like 2 miles an hour because I was like stepping off the treadmill and everything. And I have a huge like cut on my knee from I fell on the belt when it was spinning. That's always the worst. Like a sander. Took off the top layer of my knee.
He looks like a 5-year-old. Came home with
scabby
his
knees.
knees all scraped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a little band-aid over it.
Some grass on my pants. But so 3.3 miles an hour, and it's like I just don't think about it. So I look up after 2 hours, and I've burned like 800 calories.
No, it's great because and the thing is that like as someone who runs a lot, like I'm killing myself to get 4 miles when I get on the treadmill and I start I walked when the week I couldn't run because of my head injury. I could only walk on the treadmill. I
Always
watched
got to shoehorn that in there, don't you?
You ruined it. I watched Hackers, the 1990s classic with Angelina Jolie's boobs, for
and your
2
husband
hours
at the time.
Yeah, well, they got married right after the
Right.
movie came out.
And
Yeah.
divorced right after that.
Yeah, exactly. But it was
good
2 hours. And it was like as much as you kill yourself to run in an hour and a half, you're burning in 2 hours of just walking.
When
like
you normally just be sitting.
Yep,
doing
absolutely.
the same thing.
I like to watch Netflix on the treadmill, but if I'm running and not watching anything or playing anything, gotta be outside.
I can only play those big open world games like GTA, Far Cry. My longest one I ever walked was Fallout New Vegas, I walked 165 miles doing that one.
Yeah.
This one's pretty close though.
I do mostly like turn-based RPGs, that kind of
That'd be
thing.
good
I have no problem with on the treadmill. I can't even do the
She
open
watches
world
stuff,
things.
though.
I end up watching TV when I run because like I can't. I
hard
walk
to-
around too much
feel
on
like
the
it'd make me
treadmill.
sick.
If I'm directing the character from a first or even a third, like a third over the shoulder perspective, then I tend to walk around too much. So I need something that's a little bit more, disconnected in terms of point of view.
You guys
Yeah.
need an Omni. You've seen those, right? The
yeah,
virtual
Omni,
Omnis,
yeah. Yeah, like a big pit. We had one in Laser Team. They actually gave us one.
Oh, really?
I remember,
It's in the virtual reality scene
still
with
here somewhere?
Adam at the beginning. No, we had it for like 2 days. Damn. And we got it like the day before the shoot. The guy happened to be an extra in the scene with all the monitors were in the mission control, and we shot that before. And he gave us one of these like disc treadmills where like it's like a bowl,
Yeah.
and you can run on any side of it with these shoes. But I was gonna say too, when you were talking about walking on the treadmill, is the games that you pick can really affect you. Like I could never do Halo in any way because when you turn in Halo, it would just like I would immediately just like walk that direction and then
Yep.
step off the track.
I feel like I would be sick. It would be something that could potentially make me sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody who gets sick really easily.
And the other scary thing about like we don't consider how much time we sit there when we're playing games, just sitting there like doing nothing, moving our thumbs and that's it. Because it's like very immersive, and there can be a lot of moments in video games where you get a lot of adrenaline, and your body like produces adrenaline. It's like, why am I doing this? I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
But I worry about that too with VR. We were talking about that in terms of gaming, but also how are people going to use this technology? I just read a tweet from somebody. They were talking about how the Samsung VR, the one with the phone, that they just locked the phone into it, they didn't realize how cool that would be to just lay in bed and watch Hulu. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird.
You've gotten even
Welcome
less
to
active.
Wally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, can you imagine going to a movie with your significant other and you just you're in your living room, like sitting next to each other, strapped on to this VR device?
Did you ever watch Black Mirror? Anybody? Black Mirror?
No.
Yep. Yeah, it's the British show. It's sort of like take two steps beyond existing technology, so you can see like where it would have come from and how much it can fuck up your world.
Yeah, so it's like a Twilight Zone. It's supposed to be like a spiritual successor to Twilight Zone, but in like a modern world. And there's an episode I think it's episode 3, where people have an implant in which everything is recorded all the time, everything they're seeing. So it's all of their point of view. And people are sitting next to each other, but their eyes get like this silver sheen when they're seeing something through their implant. And so they're like replaying the day's events, and everybody's just staring off into space with like a little controller they use with their hands.
How is that different than people using smartphones right
It's
now?
exact. It's very.
supposed to be an
that's the
analogy
thing.
probably for that.
Well, yeah,
right?
then it's. I mean, it takes a twist.
But
Check
when you
it
take the
it's
phone
good,
out,
but-
they look suddenly dead.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, and then it becomes the people who are like, they're at a dinner party at the beginning, no spoilers, at the very beginning, and one girl's like, yeah, I cut mine out. And everyone's like, oh, what a free spirit. What a hippie. Like, she's the weirdo because she's cut out the implant out of her. It's behind your ear. You have to cut it out.
Yeah.
you can't just go to a doctor and have him
I
very
assume
sterilely
so.
remove it from your neck.
But
No, I just got cut it out.
It's the point being that not having the dermal implant is the weird person.
she
not-
really had one though, didn't she?
She
Like on the
didn't.
other side.
That's not the twist.
You're talking about this all negatively, but Ashley's sitting over here thinking, can I play Stardew Valley on that?
Yeah, well,
I would
I'll
totally
say
play
that,
Stardew
Ash,
Valley on
that Gavin and I have been playing Bioshock Infinite because Gavin never played Bioshock Infinite, and
That's interesting.
yeah, he watched Dan play Bioshock.
Great game, awful DLC. Sorry.
Well, one awful DLC.
One really-
I will
that
fight
ruined-
you if you think Burial at Sea was awful.
Burial at Sea
No,
was
Burial at
rad.
Sea was
Okay,
good.
Burial at Sea was good. Yes, the one in the clouds was like, holy shit, give us time because we didn't start making the
The
DLC.
arena one was
Yes.
just with all the blue ribbon.
It's
And
called
yet-
like Battle in the
Clouds.
Clouds. Or
And
Yeah.
yet, who played all the way through that one?
I did not.
You stopped?
I proudly threw in the towel.
Wow, he's disavowing that quick.
I think did you throw in the towel because it got super, super hard?
It is very, very hard.
It's kind of hard.
It's very hard. So we're playing through Bioshock Infinite, which is great because when I played it originally, I'm a huge fan of the Bioshock series. I had to play it for review, but not at a company that got the game early. So it came out on a Tuesday night at midnight or whatever, Monday night at midnight. And then my review was due on Thursday. So I was just like, oh God, go! Booker, you bitch, run! So everything was like super duper fast. And now I'm like, hold on. Gav's like, let's go over here. I'm like, shh, voxophone hunting. And I'm like looking around, getting all my stuff. It's been really, really fun. And
All the alternate dimension stuff, especially with the composer and everything, that is so well done.
especially because it's almost all 80s music, which Gavin adores. So I'm like, did you hear the Beach Boy guy singing "Everybody Wants to Rule the World"? Like I get so excited.
Those were great covers.
They were great covers.
We had that was like one of the first things that we did is we had a race to 100% on that one. You won.
Oh, we did do that. Yeah. Yeah. It was really close though. Wasn't it?
You won, and so I went because I didn't end up finishing 1999.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the 1999 mode.
Very, very 1999 is very hard.
I got like most of the way through it, and then Bernie won. And I was like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm not doing that anymore. But we've been playing the Steam Link, which when it works is awesome.
Really?
Is
it?
What's the qualifier?
I gave hers away.
Is it really great?
It sat in the closet for like 6 months,
yeah,
and I was
fair
just like, the
enough.
gaming guys needed, so I brought them.
Fair enough.
I was telling Bernie, I was like,
Did you
know
guys
what?
orchestrate this?
Stardew Valley might be a really good treadmill game. I'm gonna plug in the Steam
Well,
Link.
I actually,
will
one of the
tell
reasons I
you
gave it
why.
away
Suddenly-
is Gavin said it didn't look as good. It looks all pixelated.
That's
There
a
is some
lie.
compression. No,
It
there is
looks-
some compression.
Well, there is, but I mean, we're playing it on our TV now, and he's like, "Look how good it looks," because we're running it off his PC, which is in 4K.
Yeah, he's also super sampling.
But I
it.
will say that the one thing that it doesn't scale properly are any of the menus or any of the time you look in like a little viewfinder thingy to play the little videos. They're this fucking big on our giant TV.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's
So you have
UI.
to,
It's
like-
4K UI.
Right,
yeah.
it's scaled as if it's on a 4K screen. So there's like a reveal where this is not a huge spoiler at all. Lady Lutece is like the lady who put Columbia into the sky, and it's like, this broad likes science, and then it's a shot of Lady Lutece, and I'm like, and Gavin's like, am I supposed to know who that is because she's this fucking big on the TV? I'm like, it's the lady who's been following us around. That would have been cool if you hadn't made us do it in 4K, but it's fine. Everything's fine. So those menus are tiny.
Yeah.
But when it works, the Steam Link is great. When it doesn't, we have to boot the PC, reboot it like 3 times before it finally is like, oh yeah, there's a PC. Okay,
Just to
now
see it?
everything's good.
Just to stream? Is that
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, because we're streaming to the TV.
Here's my problem too: is that I forget what the third Steam device I got in
There's
one day
the
was.
Steam
Steam
controller,
controller,
there's the
Steam
Steam
Link.
Link, and
There's actually a.
And we're using a wired
Did you get a Steam box?
Xbox One controller.
I think I thought there was
No,
something
we didn't-
else.
we
Maybe
didn't
I
get
just
a
got a
Steam
Steam
machine.
Link and a Steam controller. My problem was I opened the Steam controller first and used that for about 5 minutes. and was like,
like it.
well, this is awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no likey. We're using
so
an Xbox
I
One
literally
controller.
never even opened the Steam Link, and I gave it to the gaming department.
But it has to be wired,
It
which
does
also
have to be
sucks because
wired.
we have a cat.
but the
Although you say that, and wires can't exist in a house with a cat.
No, he broke my Game Boy or my there's a Super Nintendo thing I got for Christmas once, and I had it plugged in to use the TV as the display, and he smashed that, and the Steam Link has hit the ground. Very durable because he's jumped into the wire because he gets too excited and smashed into the floor about 3 times. So.
the PS4 controller does work wirelessly with Steam Link though.
I know that the 360 one definitely does, but you have to have the wireless dongle.
No, the PS4 works natively.
Oh, good. See?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we have those.
I looked that up specifically because I've gotten really used to the Xbox One controller, so I was upset that it had to be wired because I was looking at doing it on the treadmill again, so I wanted something preferably wireless. PS4 is the only one.
Why did- so the
360 works
Xbox
with the dongle?
Yeah, the dongle.
That's
The
weird
Xbox
that the
One has to be
360 does.
wired, and then there's like a bunch of third-party ones, but the PS4 said native, and I said
So the Xbox One dongle
and then I
will
went
not
looking
work.
for Steam Link.
Apparently no. But I will tell you that the reason I thought of all this is because Gavin brought up Stardew Valley because it brings up like your Steam library outside. And he was like, oh, I wonder if I can play this in the living room because he's obsessed with it now. And it gives you a warning that like this is not a controller game. This is a keyboard and mouse game. Are you sure you even want to launch it? And then he launched it and was like trying to figure out the controller. He's like, how do I? Oh, this works. So it is possible,
It's
but
like
apparently
partial
not
support. It's
preferable.
not amazing.
Yeah. Apparently not preferable.
I guess in the Let's Play we did use keyboard and mouse. Yeah, will say that I like comparing the Steam Link to just Xbox streaming to Windows 10. It's much less latency, which I appreciate. I'm not sure, or maybe it's just my setup at home, and I've only tried the Steam Link here with actual hardwired. But felt like there was almost none.
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything. Like it's just like playing it on console.
One of the things that I'm trying to tell people about here, that work here at the office is that Windows 10 now comes, or you can download for free, an Xbox app for Windows 10, and that
It's
allows you.
fantastic for recording too.
There you go. That's it. It allows you to do game capture. Like I've been using Fraps all this time, and listen, I can't say enough good things about Fraps. That program has been around. I think I paid $20 for that program 9 years ago, and I've been using Fraps ever since.
I've been using your Fraps ever since.
It's been great. I think yeah, some of the I think Gus used mine as well. But it's like that's
all
a great
really
program.
like your Fraps, Bernie.
It just makes enormous file sizes, and this Xbox app is
Totally
like if you need a
uncompressed.
capture program for your computer, you should check out the Xbox app if you have Windows 10, and if you don't have Windows 10, you should probably get Windows 10.
Yeah,
In fact,
there's
that's
it's free.
that's the reason our Contagion Let's Play died a horrible death is because Fraps does such big file sizes. I was like, oh, let's use OBS. I've been using it for like streaming on Twitch and all this sort of stuff.
And you can burn in the names.
You can burn in the names, yeah, so you don't have to like redo it afterwards. And all that was really great, except it didn't take 3 of the feeds. Like it just didn't record them. And then the 4th one recorded in like one tiny window.
Thumbnail size.
Yeah.
And I promise we won that match.
We beat
did.
Contagion.
We did.
finally beat Contagion.
We got
and
off
couldn't
that
show it.
roof.
Well, Ashley beat it.
Well, Gavin's the only one that died.
Gavin's the only one who didn't make it. We all made it to the helicopter.
Don't
made
you
the
remember?
helicopter.
I was in it.
You were
Yeah,
there.
you made it to the helicopter.
I'm sorry,
Gavin did
Ryan
not.
cruelly shoved me down since then, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, we've actually were kind of going through that when we're trying to figure out what to record.
Oh yeah, that
VR
was when
right now.
Gavin was the cat and Gavin being stepped on.
We went back through trying to figure out exactly the best way to record it because things like the native frame rate for Vive is 90 frames per second. So you can actually record 90 frames per second with Fraps. Most other
frames.
things will not do 90. And that's not necessarily relevant. What we've settled on, huh?
What was the high frame rate that
Would you fall down again? What? Talk a little bit about it.
Peter Jackson used? What was it called?
48 frames a
48.
second?
48.
48 frames a
High
second for The
frame rate
Hobbit.
is 48.
Well, it was
Well, for
like because
film.
it looked like
Yeah.
shit on film, but I was like, oh, 90 is that what he would look like shit? No, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
like,
48,
even
sorry.
like 60 was the standard for video games when they were
Vomit,
pushing for
right.
48. Yeah,
Right.
James Cameron's another big proponent of high frame rates.
Horrible.
In film. I'm not
Welcome
a big fan of it either.
welcome to my PC cutscene, the movie.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
It's
Yeah.
rough.
Awful.
Which,
Fell asleep in it twice.
I mean, PC cutscenes are not bad.
No, they're not bad, but I get them on my PC.
They
There was
just
a
work
there was a
theatrically.
there was a I felt like there was a cutscene in Batman versus Superman. There is a particular scene that you watch. It's
Oh.
like it felt
I know the scene you're talking
so
about.
much like a cutscene from a 1990s sci-fi movie that I was just like, what am I
Can
watching?
I just tell you that most of that film felt
game,
like
I meant.
It's probably
like 20
in the trailer. You could
cutscenes
probably
somebody
just name
tried
it.
to just like mash together. We're not going to talk too much about the movie, but
There's a really good. So there's a very very good movie in there.
somebody
yeah.
said it's a great Batman movie and a terrible Superman movie, and
That's
I thought
interesting.
that's a really interesting
Yeah.
way to look at it.
That's a fair point.
Anyway, Batman versus
Yep.
Superman.
mean,
I'm
video
really
games.
surprised they don't have a
Talking
game
about
for it.
Yeah, well, maybe because they learned that like it wasn't it Superman that had the really bad game. That
Superman has
Batman
had
has a-
nothing but bad
Batman
games.
has a great series though.
Batman
yeah,
has
that's
great
true.
games.
Well,
Yeah.
but
The problem
not if
with
you're
a
on PC.
Superman
but-
game. Like you can't have a Superman game if your hero's invulnerable.
How dare you? There are some great
Excuse me,
Atari
Superman
2600.
64, okay?
I was gonna say Atari 2600 Superman was fucking great.
Also, Superman not invulnerable.
Oh,
He's
okay.
not.
I'm
you just
sorry.
have to hit him really hard,
That's
or
true.
with a rock from his own home planet.
or some native.
Who's allergic to their own
rocks.
planet?
Well, it's.
Hey, wait.
we
I'm
are.
sorry,
You're
yeah,
allergic
exactly.
to things on this planet.
Allergies are a thing. You're allergic to your own planet.
It's
Are
just,
you allergic to dirt?
A rock.
Some people
you're
are.
allergic to trees.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
not you
cats.
personally. I don't know, but
I mean, basically, he's like Gus. On his own planet, he's allergic to grass, like
It's
Gus
actually,
is.
it cuts back to Superman, and he's in an office getting the like weird little roller ball of needles that they put in your arm. To
I don't know if Gus is allergic to grass. Does grass produce pollen?
I think
is that
everyone-
Yeah, grass.
It's
It's,
an
actually a very
allergen.
common
I thought everyone was
allergen.
kind of allergic to grass. That's why you like.
It is an
It's
irritant,
like
I
it's
think,
really
yeah.
like itchy when you are on grass for the first time in a
just-
long time, and
yeah,
then you
it's-
sort of like get used to it.
That's hookworm.
it's only dangerous if you like aerosolize it, basically.
Yeah.
Like when you cut the grass, then
Anyway,
yeah,
it
no, I'm
smells
super allergic to
delicious.
grass. I should never have to cut the grass again.
So
It's
video
itchy.
games.
Video games, or
We
hey,
can still
Cutting
talk
video
about
game.
those.
what can you cover about video games in about 60 seconds or less?
Grass pollen is a common trigger for allergies.
we haven't even
All right,
dug. We
fair
haven't
enough.
even dug into the whole
Losers.
that dragon cancer.
Oh,
That was
versus
sad.
Let's
Yeah,
Plays.
that
Yeah.
went so bad.
Yeah.
Well, we can take it. We can go over 5 minutes. Let's talk about.
Yeah,
it.
we'll go over a little bit.
Can I submit this for the 5-second discussion?
Yeah.
Is there a way to critique this game without sounding like an asshole who has no heart for someone who lost a child?
Well,
That's
to be
a
fair, I've
really
never
hard
played the
game,
game.
too. Okay, so
Oh, Ash did.
the
Okay.
game it's based. It's a very personal story. It was made by a guy who lost his very young son to cancer, and the game is more or less his grieving process. So it's the game is like a living tribute to his little son. And so when you get something like that, it's a, I mean, it was kickstarted, so he took money for it, but it's a work of the heart, like to that level. Like, how do you say like, oh, this is a shitty game? How do you criticize
Well, I think it's
a
fair-
game like that
I think
without
it's fair to talk about it because
demeaning like the act that led to it? You know, it's
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough.
is
what
that-
he's
that's not
saying
even
is
the
that
issue, though,
what
is
he's saying is that the Let's Plays that people did hurt his sales. So he's talking about the sales of this like heartfelt work.
But
So he
that
is talking about it
comes
from a
into it.
business perspective.
To-
I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
there's a
comes into it
couple
from some
of
degree.
big things here, though. One is that I think most Let's Players, at least people that do more like what we do and add commentary and comedic value to something, wouldn't look at this game and decide that this is a game that they should do. Because it's too serious, it's too heavy. It's not a game that lends itself to that nature of comedy.
Right.
Yeah. So
Now, there is a whole subset of people that they don't do commentary. They record the
Playthroughs.
game with no additional track
Right.
and just
Which is
show you the whole
not
game, begin to
fair
end.
use. You are not making a transformative
Correct.
work. It is not fair use. That
I
does
could
not
actually
fall
make an
under-
argument that that is fair use
Oh, let's argue.
because that is their performance of that game.
If,
you know-
if
Okay,
it were
I
an
see what you're
open
saying.
world, non-linear experience, I could perhaps see that. But this is a very linear experience.
An interactive game is very gray area. The fair use in general is a huge gray area.
Yes.
But just by act of playing a game, that is I think a transformative experience because no one else can play the
Sort of.
game exactly the way you did.
Well, coming
I
from
like-
a machinimating experience, I
Yeah.
can see why you would definitely lean that direction. Yeah.
one of the things that
How
like
typical
what
is what
I
he
What does that
said.
mean?
Well, that's. I mean, you
what he
based a
said, Bernie,
series
is
on.
you would.
Yeah,
No,
you
I'm-
would say that.
I'm not disagreeing with you either. What I'm saying is, you based an entire film creation on using a game and using a custom way to play it to tell a story.
But they're
Well, I
not
would-
even. You're not even going on the border there. Red versus Blue is such a transformative work because it's not remotely like someone would use.
I agree with that because we replaced all the audio and
Yeah.
we're not
Right.
even doing
Yeah.
the thing you're supposed to do in that game. We're just like
Yeah.
walking around in that world and like, we replace all of the audio. We add dialog
Mm-hmm.
We add characters and storylines that have nothing to do with it. I think Red vs. Blue should like be I clearly I think it's fair use, but we actually
Yeah.
don't even treat it like fair use. I mean, it's a
You- I mean, you
licensed
license
product.
it.
Yeah.
It's a licensed product.
But I
So-
would say that I would argue that a game in which there's very, very little variation, which makes it even more of a gray area, but a linear game like that Dragon Cancer, where it is basically a walking sim.
It's almost
where
not
you-
a game.
Yeah.
It's
where it is an art.
interactive narrative.
right.
I don't think that constitutes fair use if you're
A
not
visual
adding
novel,
anything to
if
it.
you
Like
will.
the way I
Almost
tend
like a
to
different category.
Yeah.
the way I like to look at something and figure out if it like would be fair use or not is like if you took away that copyrighted material, what's left?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Is
there's
it like do you
nothing.
have a podcast or like do you have like are you doing something beyond like what are you leaning on?
I mean, the problem with fair use is it's something that's only relevant to a court case.
Yeah.
People can talk about fair use right and left, but it doesn't matter until.
Well, the
it
problem is
actually
people
goes to
online
the
talk about
trial.
fair use like this is fair
Right.
use. It's like
Yeah.
if you read the doctrine of fair use, it literally says in some cases.
Right.
And
There's no absolutes.
no,
Yeah.
not even in the definition.
But if it's a Let's Play in which the commentary overrides the source content, then that is not as impactful, I feel like, to the sales of a particular game. If it's a Let's Play where the commentary doesn't exist or where it is so minimal that it doesn't hide the experience to some degree of playing the game yourself, then that could absolutely have an impact, especially on a game like this.
I guess
thought-
we might want to like back up a little bit and give a little bit of background here. So what happened was this this game that Dragon Cancer has come out. It is not sold very well. According to Steam Spy, it sold something like 13,000 copies, and so the developer went through a thing where he initially made some copyright claims against some Let's Plays of the video on YouTube on behalf of the soundtrack, I believe,
Yeah,
like
the
on the
composer.
Copyright
composer.
music, yeah.
And then, of course, there was a big outcry because Let's Players are very protective of the medium, and he rescinded all the claims and apologized, but said that it didn't feel very fair that people would, in a lot of cases, make these videos without commentating, without really adding anything to it, and they would make money off it. And he, like having only made a few thousand sales, was not himself like really seeing anything from it, and felt that it was like this weird, unfair thing, and thought that Let's Players should add more.
Right.
But
I think
to
it's
the
also
conversation.
really important to note on that subject, though, that what he did too was look at the Let's Players that were doing it, and saw millions of views, and equated that with
Lost sales.
Right, but
even though they don't necessarily come for the game, in
Right.
most cases with Let's Players, they're coming for the
Personality.
presenter.
Like
Yeah, I think-
Roger Ebert, when he was alive, on Siskel and Ebert, had reviewed a movie that was at festivals, and a million people watched Robert Ebert review it, but then only 10,000 people went to go see this festival movie. That's kind of a normal thing that happens. It's like
Yeah.
they watched Robert Ebert's show, you know, because he also reviews lots of different movies and have a reputation, they found out about the movie, but they just didn't go to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought what was really interesting was that his letter did not read as an apology to Let's Players at all. It read more as an explanation of his actions. And he said, we claimed those videos so that the guy who made the music could get a little bit of money. We've released those. However, not only should you encourage people to buy our games, you should be playing it in small chunks, and you should be directly linking to a place where someone can buy the game, which I felt were all things that were on the one hand understandable, but on the other hand, not something you can demand of someone who's using your content.
Do you think that someone should be able to create something like this, create a game, and say, I don't think people should do Let's Plays in this? Like, I just like take that out, like, and do you think people should honor that?
I
One of the
mean,
things going
Nintendo
back
Different
does.
than Nintendo, yeah.
There's
going
no-
back to no, Nintendo did do that, and then they came up with another months later they came up with another policy that said they were going to share revenue, and they worked out that thing with Google in the back end. But
if you agreed and like signed their contract,
got your
otherwise they
videos
take all the
approved.
money.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So it's like one of those things, and it's like going back to the Red versus Blue example. We always said that, you know, we would keep making Red versus Blue as long as people watched it and Microsoft was okay with it and liked it. Because it's like if they had said to us, like, we don't want you, that's cute, but, you know, get off the stage, kid. You bother me. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That would have been totally understandable. It's like, and like when Nintendo started saying they clearly didn't want people doing Let's Plays. They clearly didn't want that. Then they kind of were forced by public opinion to, you know, have this compromise, I think. But they don't want it. So it's like, if people don't want it, there's lots of people that do, you know, so let's do that. I think people should be able to say, I don't want my work being used in a derivative process.
I feel like you can say it, but there's nothing that should implore people to follow. Like, if someone doesn't want to honor that claim, like, that's their choice as well. I felt a little strange.
But it's a
like,
risk.
it is a risk.
And it's their risk that
It
they're
is.
taking. Like, we started Red versus Blue. It was totally a risk on our part.
Absolutely.
And it was like, if they had told us to stop and, like, you know, send a cease and desist, we would have stopped.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I felt like there's a weirdness there in his letter in which he says this is a game that was kickstarted, the development was kickstarted, and he says in his letter, we haven't seen a single dollar from sales because we've taken all of our money that we've gotten in sales and paid off the debts we had from developing the game, to part of me
That's
says
making money.
You're making money. You're just choosing to spend it on something where you
that's making money. Yeah.
over in development.
You paid
that
yourself a salary,
You paid
probably.
yourself
Yeah.
a salary, or like you kickstarted something. You clearly went over what you fundraised to make this game,
Right.
and also to say like this is a really personal story and a really personal process, which it undoubtedly is. But then to come out and say, but I want to be making more money on it, so stop playing it on YouTube. It felt very icky to me. Like, I felt very like, I don't even know who to support in this because it all feels gross.
Yeah, the problem with making art is that it's not always going to be art that somebody wants.
That's true. It's so true. There are already games. Firewatch, what is 50,000 copies have been sold? Like,
No,
and that
like
is-
500,000 something.
yeah,
like,
I mean,
there's
it's
a
huge.
lot of copies.
That's an art that sold well, but just because your art is personal doesn't mean it's going to sell well.
And that's I mean, that's a very dark, very heavy subject matter, and a lot of people that play video games for escapism are not
I
going to be
agree.
interested
And
in,
not
in
something-
walking
and
that dark
it's
road
like
with you.
$15 and takes an hour to beat.
Yeah.
And Ash, you had problems with it working properly.
Yeah, technically, like I was trying to play it last night, and it's got enormous technical problems. Like it can't handle what are our monitors? We have super wide monitors at home. They're like
They're
9 by
3440 by 1440.
So yeah, it's like the
They're like
ratio is
the-
like 9 by 21 or something like that, or 21 to 9. And the game just like it can't handle them.
That
so
is a
it
weird
would,
resolution,
You know when
but-
They're
they
super wide, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things where bars will come in for like a cinematic or something, and then you get like a nice like bars across the top
Yeah.
and bottom. They would come in, and then there'd be like game left on the outside edges, and it just like it couldn't. It had trouble running. I couldn't change the resolution. I couldn't run it in a window that was a normal size. It just none of that stuff worked. Trying to click around, like we have very nice gaming PCs, and I got a warning from the PC to shut everything down because it was dying trying to run the game.
Weird.
Those monitors are great, by the way. I
Oh
mean,
my
there
God,
are
they're
like
fantastic.
games
They
that
are-
take-
Frames per second
yeah.
Those monitors,
pretty sweet.
fantastic.
They're great because you get an aspect ratio that you don't normally get in a game. You can see like more stuff on the sides and everything. But there's still little
Wider
problems.
FOV.
Like whenever I play Counter-Strike, it's like really cool when I get in the game. But the starting menu is like off the edge of it because of the aspect ratio. So I just can't pick a team. I just have to hit enter. That's the only way to get
like
past
the
it.
idea of like when Bernie's like, when I'm logging into some sweet CSGO.
We're gonna throw down
yeah.
CS.
What up, guys? Some Team Fortress. I'm all like, ooh, spy check. What's up?
Here's
Like,
exactly what happens. I'm like, I'm gonna go fucking play some Counter-Strike. And then about 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, right.
play with
That's
John's
right.
Weisinger.
Don't play.
Play with
Worst
him. That's what
person
I
is
did to
still
get rid of
kicking my
mine.
ass.
I was like, I should give it a go. And then I played with John, and I was like, this game is not for me.
Wow, that was a really terrible experience I just had. I'm really awful at games.
Yeah,
But you made somebody else's experience great.
Yeah.
exactly. Did you see me own that noob? Thanks, Bernie.
Yeah, I wouldn't get a chance to talk about Division either, but it's like that's me in the dark zone. It's like you can hear proximity chat when like groups of people are talking to each other. So when you walk up on a group of rogue agents, but you only see one of them and you shoot them, and then like 530s come around the corner and you're like, oh, I'm gonna die. And then, like they just sit over your body talking about what an idiot you are after you die.
I hate stuff like
guy
that. But
made
like
poor choices.
whenever somebody talks in any sort of chat, happened a lot in Destiny, where like a voice would come through our Connect. It creeps me the fuck out. Suddenly I feel like someone can
Connect
see
within
me.
your house.
They can like they have my information, like my blood type or something. Like I'm so freaked out by
Oh,
voices.
you went deep with that. All right.
I'm very worried about it.
They do have your blood
They
type.
do.
They do.
Xbox knows, and therefore.
That's in the privacy information. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on Patch
Yeah.
150, where
we
we
went a
gave
little
away
extra.
our blood types and personal information.
I
and
didn't
shared
say
with
what
the
it
world.
was.
It's B negative.
It's not.
It's
Close. We talked about it though. This
It's
is weird that we've talked
O
about what
positive.
our blood types are. No.
we have actually.
Yeah, we
A lot of people on Twitter were very happy to tune in for a couples patch, so they were very
Aw.
excited about that.
Bernie and Ryan are so happy. I'm so excited
are.
you guys are finally going to be out with your
Do
relationship.
you guys finish each other's sentences?
We.
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week with the patch.
We might even
Wait,
talk about video games.
Ash, did you tell
sometimes.
him you put alcohol in a shot yet or no?
See you in a
No.
year.
Okay.
Spiked me. Great.